So the 2024 Eastern Conference Final champion Boston Celtics have a Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown problem. Find out what I mean by that in today's video. I want you to pay very close attention to this play. You've probably seen it in Game 1 here. The Indiana Pacers should have won this game. They completely gave it away to the Boston Celtics, but we're not going to talk about it. It's a half-court play, inbounds play, drawn up for Jaylen Brown, a contested prayer three in the corner by Jaylen Brown here. And I'm not going to make this a thing where it's like, oh, geez, who's the Celtics' best player? Is it Jason Tatum? Is it Jaylen Brown? Which one should they go to close games? Because, well, both guys are fully capable of doing it. They're two of the best scorers in the league. In isolation, especially in transition, they can shoot the three. They can get to the mid-range. They can drive to the rim. I'm not here to break down or really critique either of those two's ability to score the basketball, but they have an issue. And it's been an issue that has plagued this team in this era of Celtics basketball for quite some time. They've been to 6 conference championships. They are going to their second NBA Finals with this group, with these two guys as their best players, obviously losing the one to the Warriors several years ago, but they find themselves back in it against the Dallas Mavericks. The biggest problem that this Celtics team has is their late game / fourth quarter half-court offense. And it has plagued them this entire era, and you'll really see it when you go back and watch some of their postseason endings, some of their defeats in the past. As you can see right here, this is the conference finals last year, where Tatum had several turnovers in the guts of the game against the Miami Heat, the 8th seed Miami Heat, who they should have beaten. Now, there's a lot of things that makes this current Boston Celtics team great and even better than the one that was in the finals several years ago. Obviously, the addition and emergence of Derek White, bringing in Kristaps Porzingis and even Drew Holiday. But the Boston Celtics' bread and butter offensively, at least with their 2 stars, is how great they are at getting out in transition and scoring. Jaylen Brown finished 2nd in the NBA, just trailing Anthony Edwards in transition points per game, and Jason Tatum finished 6th. So they have 2 of the top 6 transition scorers in the entire NBA. But as we all know, in the playoffs, the game slows down. It becomes more of a half-court game, especially as you get in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. And that's where the ball isn't moved around as much, and they tend to play more isolation ball. And like I said, they are 2 of the best isolation scorers in the league, but their problem is finding the open guy and decision-making, and they tend to turn the ball over a ton. Jason Tatum actually finished, so the year they went to the finals, he led the NBA, and I think it was a record for most turnovers in a postseason by a player. He finished with 100 turnovers. The problem here is, let's just be real, Jason Tatum has, look, I don't blame him because Kobe Bryant was and probably always will be my favorite basketball player of all time, but the problem is, He tries almost too hard to be Kobe Bryant. In a lot of crucial moments, he'll take really bad shots. And, like, look, Kobe made a living off of doing that. He's probably the best difficult shot maker of all time. But the thing was, Kobe was a very, very high IQ player. And if he had a mismatch, he was going to attack it. What do I mean by that? It doesn't mean settling for a deep 2 or a long 3 with a smaller guy on you. It means getting in the post, maybe attacking the rim, drawing the foul. And that Cavs game I mentioned, there was no Donovan Mitchell. And look what Jason Tatum does here. He has a small Darius Garland on him. He has 5+ inches on this guy. Dribbles 19 total times, took 19 dribbles, and decides to take a contested fadeaway 2. Now, the NBA called a fluke foul here. The Cleveland Cavaliers should have won it, and the NBA even came out and admitted that the officiating made the wrong decision here, but my point still stands. With all of that said, this team finds themselves in the NBA Finals, and they are the betting favorites, but I would be really scared to put my money on them for all the reasons that I just mentioned. And this feels like the final hurrah for this team, because if this current squad can't get it done, there will be major changes in the offseason. What do those consist of? Does that mean moving on from Jaylen Brown? I don't know. Good chance they move on from somebody, maybe even Porzingis. Like, there's going to be people who are let go if they end up falling short. Now, I'm somebody who has always said, and I mean this in the most trolling way possible, keep in mind I am a diehard Philadelphia sports fan, I'm a Sixers fan, and I've always said Jaylen Brown is the better player between the two, and that's only because I've just been so annoyed with this media narrative around Jason Tatum where they started crowning him so early. much of that was due to the team's success so early, and Jason Tatum was an early riser in the NBA. Like, he came out right away and dominated, but ever since then, I mean, he's gotten better, but he hasn't, like, ascended like his teammate Jaylen Brown, who seems to get better every single year. Jaylen Brown's numbers went down a little bit this year, but that's just because he had to sacrifice with all the new additions, the emergence of Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis coming in. But Jaylen Brown was such a raw player coming out, whereas Tatum's coming out from Duke. You get the Kobe Bryant thing going on with him, which I absolutely hate and can't stand. And the crazy thing is, as much as I sit here and critique this Boston Celtics team, I actually do think Tatum and Brown can exist. I mean, clearly they're in their second finals together as a duo in this era. Obviously, they haven't gotten over the hump and won, but it's very hard. And the NBA is arguably the most competitive it's been in quite some time. There's so many teams that you feel like can win. Like, everybody assumed the Nuggets were going to make it back. We saw the resurgence of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now you got this Dallas Mavericks team. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the East this offseason. I wouldn't just assume Boston will have another cakewalk if all things remain next year. But I do believe Tatum and Brown complement each other, because while they're both wing players, they're both very versatile and can score from all over the court. They both have two completely different personalities, and it shows on the court. Tatum's a much more kind of like calm demeanor type of guy, whereas Jaylen Brown's like a killer. He's super aggressive, is always attacking, and I think it works. And obviously, they've always surrounded the two with a great supporting cast around them. But the problem remains, like I said, fourth quarter, half-court offense. The ball sticks in both of their hands, and the problem is with both of them, Tatum's gotten better as a playmaker, but that's just not something that he wants to do. And Jaylen Brown pretty much, I'm not going to call him a zero, but the guy is just not, like, making his teammates better passing the basketball, let's just be honest, and that's fine. He's a scorer. He's a score-first player, but the problem is their two best players are score-first players, and they benefit from playing within the flow of this Boston Celtics offense, but when it comes down to it, sometimes that stuff just doesn't matter in the fourth quarter, and that's when the best of the best players show up. You're seeing it with guys like Luka, guys like Kyrie. They know how to execute at the end of the game. We're going to go back to these crucial turnovers Tatum had, and I just want to use it to really just like highlight what he struggles with in the end of the games. So here we go, fourth quarter. Like I said, look, driving right here. So he's drawing a ton of attention, which is the key. As the primary option, primary scorer, you have to be able to do this. But he has some options here. Now look, him driving and finishing isn't really an option here because they're caving in on him. But you can see Al Horford, if he pops there around the top of the key, will be open, and Jaylen Brown fading over there to the corner. Now Tatum, this is where he's always struggled. He does not know how to read, and he just simply does not see this here. Turnover. It ends up leading into a travel. Now, Jimmy Butler, being the high IQ defender that he is, was playing free safety here, trying to bait Tatum if possible. He was in between both Horford and Brown. Tatum simply needs to look him off. Does that mean look Jaylen Brown's direction and throw it over to Horford? Yes, or vice versa. Look Horford's direction, hit Jaylen Brown. These skip passes are the things that make Luka Doncic so special, for example, and it's what terrifies me about this finals matchup. I don't know if I trust Tatum still, and Jaylen Brown, obviously, to make these plays. Like, these are the examples of it, and it leads to these crucial turnovers and, like, record-setting turnovers, like I said. And, look, I get it. This Boston Celtics team is special. Maybe it won't matter. Maybe they'll just outscore them so much, pushing the ball, play that defense that they do. But I think I'm leaning the Mavericks in this series for this major problem that the Celtics have between their two star players. Now, the beauty of it all here is that they have the opportunity to prove me wrong, but they haven't done it to this point in their career. It's been year after year with them. They haven't gotten over the hump, and this continues to remain the biggest problem with the Boston Celtics. It's not their supporting cast. It's not their head coach, as much as I don't like him and I find him really annoying. He's a good coach. Certainly not their GM. It comes down to their two-star players evolving, learning how to become playmakers, reading the court, reading the defense. You can train as much as you want in the offseason. You can do all the one-on-one drills. You can learn the best crossover, the best dribble pull-up. You can score on double teams, for God's sake. You can do all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, 5-on-5 basketball, half court, that's the thing with this game. As much as the NBA has evolved and turned into a quicker paced game, teams are getting up more threes. They're taking more shots in transition. There's less half court offense. At the end of the day, what will never change about this game that we all know and love is when it comes down to it in the fourth quarter, the game slows down and you have to execute in the half court. No excuses. It doesn't matter what the personnel is out there. It doesn't matter what your coach is calling. At the end of the day, the ball will be put in the best players' hands, and they have to execute and they have to bring their team home. And that is the biggest question heading into this NBA Finals. I know Kyrie can do it. He's won an NBA championship doing it. And I believe Luka Doncic, he's proven he can do it. He got his team here, finally, to the NBA Finals. Should have been MVP. That's a different topic for another day. We'll see if he can do it on the biggest stage in the NBA Finals. I believe he can. As far as Tatum and Brown, I don't think they can. They haven't proven it to us. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications for weekly NBA content like this. Follow me on all social media platforms as I pump this content out daily, trying to live my dream, guys. Thanks as always for everybody that supports me. I'll catch you in the next one.